April 16th of 2026 should have been the day Aliyah Wilson cemented her legacy as the undisputed queen of the WNBA. She walked into the Las Vegas Aces facility with a smile that could blind the sun, having just signed a $5 million supermax deal that was supposed to make her the highest-paid player in the history of the game. That victory lasted less than 48 hours before her smile turned into a mask of pure rage, and the news hit the wire that the Vegas locker room had gone silent. Aliyah Boston did the unthinkable by signing a massive $6.3 million contract with the Indiana Fever, which was not just a raise for a young star but a total takeover of the league's economy. The Indiana Fever used the brand-new Epic provision to change the game forever and humiliate the four-time MVP. Aliyah Wilson did not just lose her spot as the highest-paid player in the world, she lost her status as the face of a league in the most public way possible. That tantrum she threw behind closed doors proves she is a locker room cancer who cannot handle the new generation of stars taking her place.
Yo, if you love real basketball stories, deep dives, and the drama behind the game, you're in the right place. But if you want to take it to the next level, hit that join button. Members get exclusive content, early access, and behind-the-scenes drops you won't see anywhere else. Plus, you're directly supporting the channel and helping us bring you even better content. So if you rock with Basketball Spilled, become a member today. Let's keep the game alive.
The celebration in Las Vegas lasted exactly one day before it turned into a complete nightmare for the front office. Months were spent demanding the Aces management hand over every single penny allowed under the new CBA, with Wilson acting like she was the sole reason for the league's explosive growth. When she finally signed that $5 million deal, she told teammates she was the new gold standard for women's sports and that her power was untouchable. What nobody expected was the Indiana Fever working on a move that would make her contract look like pocket change in less than 2 days. $6.3 million over 4 years was the number Aliyah Boston quietly secured while Wilson was busy celebrating her own ego. The Fever front office knew they had a generational talent, and they were ready to use the Epic provision to prove it to the world. This clause was designed for players with exceptional performance on their initial contracts, and Boston fit the bill perfectly after her dominant start in the league. Practice was in full swing when the news broke, and witnesses say Wilson stopped the drill immediately to scream at her coaching staff. A sense of betrayal by the league and her management team consumed her because she let a third-year player blow past her salary in a single afternoon. She started throwing chairs and demanding to speak to the general manager right there on the court while her teammates watched in silence. She could not understand how the Epic provision allowed Aliyah Boston to renegotiate her final year into such a massive extension. This total meltdown showed how fragile her ego really is when she stops being the center of attention for even a single moment. She was not happy for the growth of the league or for her fellow player. She was only thinking about her own bank account and her reputation as the top earner. This is the behavior of a toxic teammate who cares more about being number one on a spreadsheet than winning another championship ring with her squad. The Indiana Fever sent a message to the entire league that the old guard is finished by locking in Aliyah Boston as their cornerstone. 20% of the salary cap now belongs to a player who has not missed a single game in 3 seasons, making her the ultimate professional compared to the veterans. Aliyah Boston does not need to post cryptic messages on social media to feel important because her work on the court speaks for itself. But the real reason Aliyah Wilson is terrified is because she knows exactly what is coming next for the Fever roster. Caitlin Clark is the next name on that list, and since she is eligible for the same Epic provision extension next year, the financial gap is only going to widen. The Indiana Fever are sitting on a gold mine while the Las Vegas Aces are stuck with an aging star who is currently tearing her team apart. What the cameras missed during the trophy presentations was a long history of entitlement that finally reached a breaking point this week. Wilson has played the role of a manipulative veteran for years, using her influence to keep younger players in their place while the league changed around her. Aliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark do not care about that old hierarchy because they are the ones bringing in the record television ratings and the sellout crowds. The new CBA was built on the backs of the new stars, and Wilson is just angry that she could no longer gatekeep the money. And this is where it gets worse, as witness statements from the Vegas facility describe her accusing the front office of being corrupt and rigging the system for the Fever. This is the classic move of a villain who cannot accept that she was outplayed in the boardroom by a smarter organization. Details of the epic provision are what pushed Wilson over the edge because the clause rewards players who make all WNBA teams during their first 3 years. Aliyah Boston earned every cent of that $6.3 million by being a beast on both ends of the floor, and she even took a smaller salary this year just to give her team more flexibility. That is the mark of a leader who cares about winning championships more than individual accolades or personal wealth. The contrast between these two stars shows a hero building a dynasty in Indiana while a villain tears down her own team in Las Vegas. The locker room in Vegas is now a divided mess because the other players saw how Wilson reacted to the success of a younger peer. They see a star who is more worried about her brand deals than her teammates' paychecks, and that realization has poisoned the atmosphere. Focusing entirely on the money has turned Aliyah Wilson into the architect of her own downfall in the eyes of the public. $5 million felt like enough to feed her ego for 3 years, but the market moved faster than she did and left her looking like a relic of the past. The league is moving toward a future where stars like Aliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark are the standard for excellence and marketability. Her frustration has started leaking onto the court through technical fouls and aggressive behavior during training camp, which proves she has become a problem player. She is trying to prove she is still the alpha of the league, but all she is doing is proving she is a liability to her organization. Evidence against her character continues to pile up every day, especially after leaked audio revealed her claims that the commissioner is giving Indiana special treatment. Admitting that Aliyah Boston is a more marketable and reliable asset at this stage of her career is something Wilson refuses to do. The Fever are selling out arenas and moving merchandise at a rate the Aces haven't seen in years, which is why the money is flowing to Indianapolis. That is the exact reason the epic provision was created, to keep the superstars of tomorrow happy and paid while they grow the game. Aliyah Wilson is a superstar of yesterday, and her inability to handle the transition is making her look desperate and bitter. She has spent her entire career being the favorite, and now she is just another veteran standing in the way of a revolution. The fallout from this contract dispute will haunt the Aces all season long, regardless of how much they try to pretend. Everything is fine. Tension on the court is obvious when Wilson refuses to pass to younger teammates or spends the entire game arguing with the officials. She is playing with a chip on her shoulder that is hurting the team's chemistry and destroying their chances of a repeat. None of that mattered in Indiana, where the vibes are at an all-time high as Aliyah Boston prepares to lead her team to a title. The Fever have the money and the talent and the momentum to dominate the league for the next decade. They successfully dismantled the Vegas dynasty without even playing a game by being smarter and more strategic with the new rules. Veterans across the league should view this tantrum as a final warning that getting paid for past achievements is a thing of the past. The business of the WNBA is booming because players like Aliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark draw massive crowds, which cause the salary cap to increase 5 times over. Aliyah Wilson should be thanking those rookies for the $5 million she did get instead of crying about the $6.3 million she missed. But a villain never sees the big picture and only focuses on what they think is being taken from them. Wilson thinks the Indiana Fever stole her crown, but the truth is she simply was not fast enough to keep up with the changing market. Locker room leaks will only get worse as the season goes on, and reports indicate that even her fellow veterans are tired of the constant complaining. They are making much less than her, and they do not want to hear a multimillionaire act like a victim in the media. Hearing a leader act this way is the fastest way to kill a championship culture, and the Aces are now paying that price through a total loss of chemistry. The front office is scrambling to manage her outbursts, but it might be too late to save a team that is now divided by jealousy and greed. Aliyah Wilson has become the very thing she used to criticize, a player who thinks she is bigger than the team and the game itself. Numbers don't lie, and they clearly show that Aliyah Boston is the new gold standard for the entire league. Her 4-year deal gives her long-term security and a huge chunk of the salary cap that Wilson was desperate to claim for herself. Wilson gambled on herself with a short-sighted 3-year deal and lost because the epic provision changed the rules while she was not looking. Now she has to watch Aliyah Boston enjoy the biggest contract in history for at least another 12 months while her own value drops. When Caitlin Clark signs her deal next year, it will be even more. Embarrassing for the Vegas star. The crown is gone and the money has moved east to Indiana, leaving Aliyah Wilson as an expensive reminder of what happens when your ego outgrows your game. The era of Aliyah Wilson is officially coming to a bitter and expensive end because she chose greed over her own legacy. She had the chance to go out as a legend who helped build the league for the next generation, but she chose to be a villain instead. Her legacy is being tarnished by her own behavior and her own words every time she opens her mouth to complain. Fans want to see the joy and the dominance of Aliyah Boston and the excitement that Caitlin Clark brings to the arena. They do not want to see a disgruntled veteran who thinks the world revolves around her bank account and her past awards. The WNBA is moving forward, and it is leaving the drama and the ego of the Las Vegas Aces behind for good. Aliyah Wilson thought she signed a historic contract, but all she really signed was the beginning of her own irrelevance in a league that has passed her by. She thought she was the one who was going to lead the WNBA into the future, but she is just a footnote in Aliyah Boston's story now. The $6.3 million deal was the final blow to the Vegas dynasty and the ego of its biggest star. Aliyah Wilson is the architect of her own downfall, and she is finding out the hard way that respect is earned on the court and not bought in the boardroom. She can scream at the front office and throw chairs in the locker room, but the check has already been cashed by the better player. The Indiana Fever are the new power in the WNBA, and Aliyah Boston is the new queen of the mountain. Aliyah Wilson is just an expensive reminder of what happens when you let your ego get bigger than your game. The final buzzer has sounded on the old guard, and the truth has finally spilled.